Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Jonah Berger's Contagious, Why Things Catch On. We're going to figure out what really makes some ideas and products spread like wildfire, while others just fizzle out. Okay, let's kick things off with a little puzzle. So picture this. A new luxury steakhouse opens up in Philadelphia. The owner, Howard Wine, has a big problem. How do you possibly stand out in a city that's already packed with amazing steakhouses, especially when your marketing budget is tiny? Well, his answer was to create a $100 cheesesteak. And you know what? It totally worked. People didn't just buy it, they had to talk about it. This sandwich became this incredible conversation piece, getting the restaurant featured in USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, and even on The Late Show. It was a contagious story that put them on the map. So how on earth did they pull that off? To figure out why that cheesesteak was such a home run, we first have to bust a few myths. It's really tempting to think that things go viral just because they're the best product or they have the biggest ad budget. But as we're about to see, the real story is almost never that simple. Yeah, we all kind of think that the best products or the cheapest ones or the ones with the flashiest ads are always going to win, right? But the source material makes it super clear that success is usually driven by something way more subtle and honestly a lot more powerful. I mean, just take baby names for a second. Olivia and Rosalie. Both are perfectly beautiful, classic names. They're totally free to use, and obviously there's no advertising for them. And yet, Olivia became this massive chart-topping hit, while Rosalie stayed pretty uncommon. This proves that our usual explanations, quality, price, ads, they just don't tell the whole story. So if it's not the usual suspects, what is the real engine behind things catching on? It's not some massive ad campaign. It's actually something way more basic. It's people talking to each other. It's all about social influence and plain old word of mouth. And word of mouth, it turns out, is an absolute powerhouse. We're talking more than 10 times more effective than traditional advertising. And it makes sense, right? First, it's way more persuasive. You trust your friends to give you the real scoop, the good and the bad, not some slick ad that's only going to say positive things. And second, it's perfectly targeted. You're not going to tell your friend who hates the cold about a great ski deal. You naturally pass info to the people who'll actually care about it.
Okay, now this next part, this is the real shocker. We're all obsessed with Twitter, TikTok, all of social media, right? Well, get this. Research shows that only 7% of word of mouth actually happens online. The vast majority, a whopping 93%, is happening face-to-face. It's those invisible, everyday chats over lunch or at the gym that are really driving what gets popular.
So if word of mouth is the engine, then what's the fuel? What actually makes us talk and share things in the first place? Well, the source material boils it all down to this really slick, memorable 6-part framework called STEPS. These 6 principles are basically the recipe for making anything contagious. So let's break them down, one by one. Think of each one as a lever that you can pull to make your own ideas catch on. First up, social currency. Think about it. The things we talk about have a huge effect on how other people see us. We are all trying to look good, right? Smarter, cooler, more in the know. So we share things that make us look that way. That's our social currency. So how do you create this currency for people to spend? Well, one way is to find some inner remarkability. Make something so surprising or cool that people just have to talk about it. You remember those old Will It Blend videos? That's exactly it. Another way is through scarcity. There's this secret bar in New York called Please Don't Tell that you get into through a phone booth. Just knowing about it makes you feel like an insider, giving you something really cool to share. Okay, next on the list, triggers. The idea here is super simple, but really, really powerful. It's top of mind, tip of tongue. We talk about whatever we're thinking about. So if you can link your product to a common cue in someone's everyday environment, you create a trigger that keeps reminding them of you. This is such a brilliant example. When Kit Kat sales were kind of slumping, they didn't just make a new commercial. Nope. They launched the Kit Kat and Coffee campaign. By linking their candy bar to something people already do every single day, their coffee break, they created this powerful trigger that shot sales way up. The third principle is emotion. And this one feels pretty obvious, right? When we care, we share. But here's the key. It's not just any emotion that works. The secret ingredient is what scientists call physiological arousal. You have to share things that get people's hearts pumping. We are way more likely to share stuff that makes us feel high arousal emotions, like awe or excitement or even anger. Remember that feeling of pure awe watching Susan Boyle's debut? That feeling made millions of people hit the share button. On the flip side, low arousal emotions, like sadness, actually make us less likely to share. All right, our fourth principle is public. You know the saying, monkey see, monkey do? Well, it's totally true. We constantly look to other people for clues on what to do. But here's the catch. You can't copy what you can't see. That's why, if you want an idea to grow, you have to make it visible. This is exactly why Apple's white headphones were an absolute stroke of genius. They took a private act, listening to music, and made it completely public. It was social proof for the iPod. This also applies to what's called behavioral residue, things that stick around, like the yellow Livestrong wristbands or the Movember mustaches. They become walking billboards for an idea. Fifth, we have practical value. And honestly, this one is just baked into our DNA. I mean, think about the last time you shared a life hack or a great deal you found online. Why did you do it? To help someone out. We are just wired to share useful stuff, news you can use, to make life easier for others.
And this doesn't have to be some life-altering advice. An 86-year-old man named Ken Craig posted a video showing his simple trick for shucking corn in a microwave. It went viral, getting millions of views, just because it was unbelievably useful and people felt they had to pass it on. And that brings us to our final principle, stories. Here's the deal. Facts tell, but stories sell. We are wired for narrative. You should think of stories as Trojan horses. They're these engaging, emotional packages that carry a message or a brand right past our defenses, making them super memorable and easy to share. The classic story of Jared Fogle losing all that weight by eating at Subway is the perfect example. People shared that story because it was an incredible transformation. But here's the genius part. You literally could not tell that story without mentioning Subway. That's the absolute key. The brand has to be woven into the very fabric of the story. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that contagiousness can be engineered. From a $100 cheesesteak to a simple video about corn, you can see these same 6 principles at play. Virality isn't magic, and it isn't luck. It's a science. The STEPS framework gives you a clear, actionable toolkit that really anybody can use to make their ideas and products catch on. So the only real question left is, what idea will you choose to spread?